student, in this video I will explain you about the four ashramas of the Vedic society, that is the brahmacharya, the grihastha, vanaprastha and the sannyas. So it's given in your book in detail, which you should read thoroughly. In the early Vedic period, man grew up according to the family tradition. So I have explained you earlier also that in a society the family was the basic unit, and that family system was a patriarchal in which the male dominated the family. It was the eldest male member who controlled the guardianship. So and they followed the tradition as generation to generation, but there was a change in the later Vedic. However, in the later Vedic period, the whole lifespan means a whole life period. Suppose it was 100 years for any average, it was taken the 100 years for any person, so it was divided into 25 years each respectively. So it's given here. The whole lifespan of Aryan came to be divided into four periods. The four stages of life are known as four ashramas. So each period was considered as one ashram, each of 25 years duration. So the four ashramas are the brahmacharya, grihastha, vanprastha and sannyas. So each I will explain you in detail. So what they did in each period. So the first ashrama, the four ashrama, that it was first of all you should understand it developed in the later Vedic period. Okay, now the first ashram is what your brahmacharya ashram. It lasted up to 25 years. So the period which was the first 25 years, the children used to spend their time in the gurukul, staying with the teacher and follow the strict discipline. This is what given here. It represented the bachelor student. It was a bachelor life. Student being living just leaving their family. They are here only staying with the guru's family, so they are not at all with their own family. So this is what the bachelor student lives. And they focus basically on education and other skills. So this was a learning period when they spend their 21st 25 years in learning along with the guru's guideline, the teacher's guidance. The student went to gurukul and lived with the guru, acquiring knowledge of science. Now whatever the subject, whatever the areas where they got the knowledge of science, philosophy, scriptures, logic, practicing of self discipline, which is very important, and the learning to the life of a just like dharma, accordingly how what is righteousness of the life, so how to lead a life in a proper manner. So all these area they had a strict control in the gurukul. And beside this kind of a learning, they also had a practical knowledge given by the guru. So all those like practical work like gardening, cleaning clothes, doing all those household work, so they were given the training in the gurukul. First stage of that is your brahmacharya ashram, and the second is what your grihastha ashram. The stage referred to the one's married life. So when the person start their family life, that is known as a grihastha ashram, with the duty of maintaining a household. So when they come into the grihastha life, grihastha ashram, they have to maintain their family, they have to take care of their family, fulfilling all their need, the necessity. So with the duty of maintaining a household, raising family, educating one's children. So this is important. Now we should understand the importance, why the marriage had importance in our society, because what happened, it reflects the social content producing food and wealth, and also offspring continue the social mankind. So if a family will have their upgrade their the household, and plus raising their children will learn the basic dharma, basic righteousness of the life, how they should lead a life. So this is continue from one generation to generation, and this can only happen with the grihastha ashram. Third is your vanaprastha ashram, in which the people try to just take away their sense and their all those kind of luxury and desire, they just remove from their life. This is what given here in the vanaprastha ashram. This was a retirement stage when the people just feel relaxed with their duty and obligations, where a person what happened here, handed over the household responsibility, all their the basic responsibility which they had in their family life. Now they put it on their juniors, their all the next generation, and they start having a the relaxed life of retirement, in which they try to take their path towards the gods, meditation and other things. So this is what given here. Vanaprasth stage was a transition phase from householder's life to the spiritual life to get what moksha. So the basic target and the goal is what, to get the moksha, which they can have only after retiring from their family life and come to the Vanaprasth life. Then the next is your sannyas ashram. So this was marked by 75 to 100 years. This stage was marked by renunciation of material desire. So renunciation of material desire means now they are too much confirmed and make their goal that now they have nothing to do with the all those material which they had in their first 75 years, where there was a lust of to have the gold, then family, to have such kind of a luxurious life. Now they renunciate it, that is means they try to remove this completely from their life. And this is what given here, prejudices, all those things which we call in a Hindi moh maya. So they try to remove from their all those life. So this, and to change themselves into ascetic. Ascetic means completely saint life, so pure saint, to make your soul free from all those kinds of things. So completely focusing on achieving to the moksha. So they follow the meditation life, so that and that was practiced in where, in the forest, because in your all your city life or in a village you are always crowded with the responsibilities. You cannot have your attention and the meditation towards the god. So that is why these people used to leave those areas and move to the lonely solitude places in the forest, so that they can get such kind of a goal what they wanted, the salvation, the moksha life that they wanted, and that could only be achieved in those kind of a area. So this is what given regarding the education. Now education was given in the gurukuls house. This is what called the campus, guru's campus. The gurukuls were located on the outskirts of the city. So all those schools, all those kind of a gurukul where the student were getting the education from the teacher, it was located not in the city, not in the kingdom, but outside of the city and forest and in a lonely or solitude places. The student were required to learn every skill. So this is what every skill I have explained you earlier also, from household to archery. So learning the sword, learning to take care of the house, cleaning the house, that was also taught in the gurukul. The mode of teaching, what was the mode of teaching? It was oral, reciting even the Vedic mantra. So right from the early in the morning they started the practicing the reciting of mantras. After completing the education, the student gave the guru dakshina as a teacher's fee. The basic subject which were taught were what? The Vedas, Puranas, grammar, then your mathematics, ethic, logic and military science. So these are the things important that you will study in the system of education which is given in under the four ashramas. Then the rest is about the food and dress and amusement that you will see here. The main cereal produced by the Rig Vedic people was barley. The food name that time, the rice was not too much obvious, not known, but barley was very common. Later on wheat and rice were not known to them. So this is what given here, only the barley was the common food item to be consumed. Wheat and rice hasn't taken the place. However, in a later Vedic time there is evidence of using rice. So that what I was speaking about. In the second phase of the Vedic era, rice, that is your vrihi, that is somewhere it is mentioned in the scripture. Now cows were domesticated and milk products like curd, butter, ghee, etc. were used. So the cow had a very important life in the Vedic society. Though those who had a good number of cows were considered as a wealthy class people, because cow gave them milk and the milk product that were consumed in the society. Now soma, a kind of intoxicating drink like liquor, was consumed during the festival and the religious ceremony. So a very important festival days. So as today the people are using those liquor like wine and all, so that time soma has had taken the place. Regarding the wearing, the clothes worn were simple. So there was simple type of clothing they used. They consisted an undergarment called the nevi or a dhoti, and an upper piece called vasa or a shirt. So all these kind of clothes were applied on their body. Upper piece, extra cloth was used to cover, and overgarment was known as adhivasa. So this is our above the body one piece of cloth was used, and that was known as adhivasa. A loose piece piece of cloth. Now men wore turbans on the head. They used to cover their head using turbans. There were custom of wearing animal skin. So the animal skin was very much common. People used to wear. Some of the sadhus, hermit, wore deer skin known as mrigchal. So in many of your calendars earlier, you must have seen the Lord Shiva using the animal skin. He is sitting on that. So this is what the animal skin was very much common practicing. They used to wear, used in different purposes. Men kept long hair. This is what their style pattern. Ornaments were worn by both men and women. So this jewelry item were used by both male and a female. The ornaments were made of the type of metal which was used was gold, silver, ivory and precious stone. Some of the common item of jewelry were earrings. So these are the things they used: earring, rings, anklet, bracelet, necklace. So this was used by both male and a female. The main means of amusement in both the Vedic period were chariot races. So amusement means what they learn, what they love to do, the hobbies and the games. So this is what chariot race, they loved it. Horse races, dancing, singing and hunting. The chief musical instrument were the drum, flute, mridang and the lute. These were the common musical instrument which people loved to hear and play. People participated in a competitive sports, festivals and gambling. They had a common sports event in which the people gathered. So in that gathering they used to have a sport like chariot racing and other things. Now coming to the religious belief, you should not forget that right from the very early period, people had belief with the natural forces like sun, then the rain. So this is what here the religious belief you will see in the Vedic society also. The people in the Vedic age worshipped the forces of nature. They personified these natural forces and looked upon them as a living being to whom they gave human or animal tribute. A large number of gods are mentioned in the Rig Veda. The most important among these gods was Indra. So this is what your nature forces. You will study what each god and in what manner they used to worship. So Indra, to whom 250 hymns are devoted in the Rig Veda. So one of the first god that you are hearing or learning about is Lord Indra, and on whom or about whom about 250 hymns has been composed in Rig Veda. He is also known as a Purendra or a breaker of forts, and Jitendra, a winner. He is considered as a rain god who is responsible for bringing rainfall. This is very important because your all agriculture depended highly on the rain, and so the people used to worship rain so that there would be a rain and then they get a proper crop. So this is why the Indra has been mentioned here as a Purendra or Jitendra. The second position is held by Agni, the fire. You can understand how important the fire. Now also if there is a fire, how it becomes difficult to control the fire. So they used to worship out of fear the fire. He is regarded as an intermediary between God and man. So it was understood, it was a belief that Agni is a mediator to take the whatever the things messages are of the people to the god, for he consumed the sacrificial offering and carries them to the god in the form of smoke. So in the pujas and all, we make the fire, we make a yag or a small offering. That is what called as in every puja we used to have that, all those kind of a ritual practice using fire. So it is understood that with the smoke, this Agni Devta, he will carry all those wishes to the god. The third position is occupied by the Varun, the god of water, cloud, ocean, and river. He determined the path for all stars in heaven. Varun is regarded as the upholder of natural or a cosmetic order. So, in the space, whatever there is a this position of the stars, and that was controlled by what the third god, that is your Varun. There were many other Vedic gods like Vayu, the god of wind, Surya, sun god. Even now, we do the practice, the worship of the sun god in the form of a different ritual like Chhat and all. Yama, the lord of death, Rudra, god of storm, etc. So these are additional god beside your Indra, then Agni and the Varun. Then some goddesses were also worshipped. The most important female goddess was Usha, the goddess of dawn, the Sandhya, that is the evening time. It is known as in the Hindi Usha, okay, or the goddess of dawn. Other important female deities were Prithvi, the mother god, mother earth, a personification of the earth; Aditi, a great mother of god. So Aditi is the mother of all the mother goddess, okay. Ratri, the spirit of the night; Aranyani, the lady of the forest, and Dishana, the goddess of vegetation. So these are the mother female goddess which has been mentioned here. In this form they were worshipped. However, in the later Vedic period, the Prajapati, the creator of Brahma, became the supreme god, and Indra Agni lost their former significance. So earlier you have seen how Indra, then Agni, and the third Varun, they had a position that was lost in the second phase, second that is your later Vedic period, and then Brahma, that is the Prajapati, took the supreme position, and he was considered as the creator of the world. Vishnu came to be regarded as the preserver and protector of the people, and Shiva as a destroyer of the universe. So this is what the three god come to the limelight. That is your Prajapati, your Brahma, and then the Shiva and the Vishnu. So now sacrifices and rituals. What were the importance here? With the religious evolution, simplicity of nature worship was lost. Now the things have become complicated. Ritual and sacrifices, that is yajnas, became a daily routine. Beside yajnas performed by kings, the common people performed small yajnas. So all the big rituals were performed by the important people like kings and all, and small were conducted by the common people. And in that kind of a yajna, these items were in used. That is milk, ghee, grains, and fruits were offered to the deities. Deities means God. The rich people and the businessmen conducted bigger sacrifices. During such yajna, Purohit received gold, expensive clothes, and large number of cows as gift, that is dakshina. So the important people, the rich people, when they conducted sacrifices, yajnas and all, so they used to give a gift in the form of dakshina to the priest in the form of a gold and expensive clothes, and the cattle also, the cows also. Giving dakshina was a ritual and a pious duty, and it was taken as a pure duty. It was a sacred form of a duty to give dakshina to the Brahmin. Ritualism had gained strong root. Even in the small deviation while performing certain worship was considered a sin. So this is what the ritual practice was very important. Now, what is the new doctrine here? The Brahmins were responsible for bringing about many innovation and evolving new doctrine. So now the responsibility regarding the society, the Brahmin became very much strict. They made new things in the new law in the society. More emphasis was laid on the penance called tapasya, which became ritualistic. So tapasya means which is the kathor, the very stiff tap, which means complete control of the body. The new doctrines included the doctrine of karma, that is your action, dharma, the duty, and the moksha. So this was the three things common, that was karma, dharma, and the moksha. The belief in rebirth gained root. Now it was said that again, if there is a after that again there is a life, and that life will depend on the action what you have done earlier. So this is what the new birth related to the last birth, previous birth. Consequently, all these innovations strengthened the position of Brahmin. The Brahmins were said to be have a divine power. Divine power means a very important power given, granted by the god, and that's why the people had a great belief on the Brahmin. The Brahmin presented themselves in this way. Now, no ritual or religious celebration would commence without the presence of the Brahmin. So it was very much obvious, important, that no ritual, no puja would be conducted without the presence of the Brahmin. If there is no Brahmin, that puja will not be considered as a confirmed puja, or the god will not accept the worship. This is what given in here in the society. So you should go to the chapter and cover the syllabus, make notes. Thank you.